Yup, this is the end for this movie, as those who watched it have received their last biblical warning, are now being found motionless on the floor, and they don't have much time left. People were terrified after millions of people were seen leaving the theater crying while praying to God for their lives, with many saying that God is not happy, and anyone who watches it might not be only not forgiven, but may only have days left of their entire life. Many were warning feeling extremely heavy during the movie, calling several scenes to be similar to a ritual, with God himself stating in Leviticus 26 that he will cut out and end anyone who participates in this, and it's already too late to repent. Haunting scenes at the end are being called the worst, as a baptism scene has vampires mock the kingdom of heaven, saying God is powerless. On the other hand, religion and music have always been a huge part of Black lives, which is exactly what this film makes a commentary on. Yup, this is the...
I've done seen multiple videos being made on the movie Sinners, and how Christians are saying not to watch it, some Christians are saying to watch it, and whether people believe in God or not, even regular people are saying the movie is wild in itself. I mean, if there were really people outside of the movie theater laying down on the ground, getting prayed and delivered from whatever they had, that's pretty insane. You get what I'm saying? And people are shocked that a movie named Sinners in the genre of horror is demonic. I mean, like, come on. Like, most movies in the genre of horror are demonic. Now, I'm not taking away from the fact that the movie itself can be eye-opening, because it really can be. There have been some quote-unquote horror movies that have opened people's eyes to the actual spiritual realm, but at the same time, the movie is depicting the spiritual realm, which can be affecting a person's spirit. So that's why it's always very important just to know who the true and living spirit, the most powerful spirit is, which is known as the spirit of truth, the spirit of God. All right, so we have this right here. I'm not going to even bother going to the movies to watch it, because I barely go to the movies like that. I'll be watching all them joints online. Just look it up. You know what I'm saying? I got my plug. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather watch it in the comfort of my crib, eat what I want, lay down, watch the movies. You know what I'm saying? So if I am going to watch it, which I probably won't, because this video we're about to watch right now is going to explain the entire movie Sinners. So if you do plan on watching it, this is a spoiler alert, okay? But it's going to break down the movie Sinners and all the deeper meanings behind the symbolism, the scenes, and the characters portrayed within the movie itself. So without further ado, smash the like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and let's see what this movie is really about.
Sinners, the brand new horror movie. In this video, we will be diving straight into its deep themes and symbolism. There will be spoilers. Let us begin. I'd like to draw your attention to this particular shot. This is Elijah. Notice the biblical name. Elijah is a Hebrew name, and the most famous Elijah was, of course, the prophet to the northern kingdom of Israel in the 9th century BC. So this man here is called Elijah, but he's known to everyone as Smoke. He has an identical twin brother called Elias, which is actually the Greek form of the name Elijah. So that's a nice touch. Both these men are effectively called Elijah, and Elias has the nickname Stack. Together, these two are the Smokestack twins, notorious figures who served in World War I before working for Al Capone in Chicago. And the kind of setup for the film is that they have returned to Mississippi to set up a club. Now, this particular shot occurs in the third act, after Stack has been turned into a vampire and kind of vanished. So this is Smoke on his own, and notice he's wearing two necklaces, as he has been for much of the movie. One is a coin, two coins actually, but they're hanging from the same chain, so when they line up it's hard to tell. And an identical necklace with another two coins belong to his twin brother, Stack. So this necklace, the coin necklace, appears to represent the brotherly bond between them. Why is it a coin? It may reflect the fact that they are also business partners. It may also have some personal, familial significance to them. We don't really find out. But the second necklace worn by Smoke, we discover, is a mojo bag from his estranged wife Annie, who he reconnects with in the film. She was a practitioner of hoodoo, an African-American spirituality. And this little bag probably contains some herbs, and we learn that it has been supposedly imbued with a protective spell. Now at this point in the film, Smoke has lost everything.
He's mostly walking around with like a hoodoo spirit.
His brother has become a vampire, his wife is dead, and now he is about to enact vengeance on the local members of the Ku Klux Klan, whose leader sold them the sawmill at the start of the movie. So it's a significant moment. He has nothing to lose. And what he does with the two necklaces is notable. He removes the Mojo Bag necklace. Perhaps the point is that he has now come to terms with the death of his wife, or he doesn't want the protection of the Mojo Bag, which he might not even believe in, for the battle he's about to fight, because he knows it will be his last. So he removes the Mojo Bag, the necklace associated with his wife, and as he prepares the guns, he produces Stack's coin necklace, the one identical to his own, which he took from Stack's body after Stack became a vampire. But he doesn't put Stack's necklace around his neck. No, it hangs beneath the gun as he goes into battle against the KKK, almost to create the sense that he is going into battle with his brother at his side, for old time's sake. So I thought that was a fascinating visual storytelling detail, the changing of the necklaces to reflect the final steely resolve of this character. And already we have
to realize such intricate details. That's crazy.
A lot of spiritual ideas floating around. Let's back up. To my mind, the movie depicts 6 main religions or spiritualities. There's the hoodoo of Smoke's wife Annie, as already mentioned. There's the vampirism itself, which comes with a certain perspective of reality, as we shall see. There's the religion of the Choctaw people, a Native American people. In this film, they are depicted as vampire hunters, which is kind of cool. And then Christianity is depicted in this film. Lots of the residents in this area are churchgoers. Grace, a local Chinese shopkeeper, wears a cross around her neck. Then there's the KKK, which is obviously an extremist hate group, but it is a religion in a sense, an appalling religion. It has its own theology, it has rituals. And then the final spirituality in this film, I think, is blues music. Now that might sound surprising, but the opening narration tells us that in many cultures, music is treated as a thin place between earth and the spiritual realm. This idea is apparently seen in Irish culture, Native American culture, West African culture. But it comes with a warning. We learn that skilled musicians can, in the words of the film, pierce the veil between life and death, past and future. And that brings people together in a profound sense, but it can also act as a gateway for dark forces. So in the film, music, and especially blues music, is seen as a very potent cosmic force. Its impact stretches beyond the comprehension of even the most skilled musicians. To create this sort of music is to play with fire. It's wonderful, but it's also dangerous. And the spiritual journey that the film is most interested in is that of Sammy. We first encounter him at his father's church. His father is a pastor, and the two of them are discussing the Bible passage to be preached the following day. It's 1 Corinthians 10:13. No temptation has overtaken you, except what is common to mankind. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out, so that you can endure it. And this is a really interesting passage to bring up in a film called Sinners. In that verse, the Apostle Paul is making the point that God will never put you in a position where you can't not sin. There's always a way out. And part of what we need to be saved from is our tendency to give in to temptation. Even though there's always a way out, we still give in to sin. That is part of our fallen nature. Now, Sammy is a very talented musician, and he wants to play blues at the new club established by the Smokestack twins, who are his cousins. And his father warns strongly against it. He recognizes the potency of the music and its ability to summon dark forces. He says, "You keep dancing with the devil. One day he's going to follow you home." His father's house for the party, prodigal son style. And what follows is a night that spirals out of control. It starts well. The club seems to bring people together, and the music is astonishing. I was blown away by a long take in which the camera swoops around the characters whilst Sammy plays the guitar and sings, and we become aware that spirits from the past and future are being summoned and intermingled with all the others. There's a man with an electric guitar, and its sound bursts in like a bolt from the blue. It's an instrument that doesn't yet exist from the perspective of the characters. And this scene blurs the boundary between dream and reality. In the vision, The building catches fire and burns down around the dancers, an illustration of the freedom that seems to accompany the music. And the particular song that Sammy's singing is one of his own, and it's notable. He says that it's for his dad, and it explains how he was raised well. He was raised within the Christian faith, but he has a secret obsession with the blues. Now, a seasoned blues player called Delta Slim eggs him on in this, explaining that Christianity is the religion that was forced upon them by white Americans, but blues, that goes back to their ancestors, and that's ultimately where the film arrives. Blues is seen as the truly transcendent spirituality, something that all cultures are grasping at to some degree. But Christianity is framed, at least by some, as a white man's religion, which is a shame because this is how Christianity is often perceived, and yet it originated in the Middle East. And the churches in India, Iraq, Ethiopia, and many other Eastern nations date back further than the Church of England. So Christianity is not a white man's religion, but I appreciate that given how it has been twisted and used to justify exploitation throughout much of America's history, there is baggage associated with it. So Sammy...
Like, I also understand that also, like, just because the Jesus that most people think about when you think about a picture of Jesus, it's a white person, you know, blue eyes, like light brown hair, but in reality, Jesus was around Egypt. So he was like in Israel, that's where his people derived from, and it wasn't like a white man's religion. Then it went down to Africa. It took a while for it to come over all the way over here to America.
Known as Preacher Boy, is now doing what he loves. He's playing the blues. We then watch as he gives into temptation. He commits adultery with a married woman. Stack, in reconnecting with his ex-girlfriend Mary, also commits adultery with a married woman. And it's all spiraling out of this increasingly hedonistic, alcohol-fueled atmosphere. But then things take a real turn as another spirituality is introduced to the mix. The vampires show up. They're classic Bram Stoker-style vampires. They're immortal, in a sense. They don't age. They have fangs. They can jump really far. They have to be invited in to the building. They're repelled by garlic. If they bite you, you die and come back as a vampire yourself. And they can only be killed one by one with a stake through the heart or sunlight. Now, here's what's interesting. They offer a kind of false salvation. They say, let us bite you. Let us make you into vampires, and you will join us in our musical community of love, free from the oppression of the world, free from the racism of people like the KKK and others. A kind of eternal life, a kind of heaven on earth. That's what they're claiming to offer, but it's a false promise because these reanimated corpses of the night are a far cry from the biblical idea of resurrection. I was discussing the film with my friend Rory afterwards, and he said that this is quite reminiscent of Genesis 4, in which God says the following words to Cain: "Sin is crouching at your door." Quite literally in the film, vampires are waiting at the door to this club, and the person they want most is Sammy, the master musician. I'm reminded of Jesus' words in Matthew 16, "What good will it be for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul?" And Sammy seems to recognize this to some degree. For a moment, he regrets not heeding his father's advice. He believes that the devil has indeed found him in the form of these vampires. And to become a vampire, to join them, would be to sell his soul. But sadly, in the ensuing battle, lots of people get converted into vampires against their will, and Sammy is confronted by the original vampire, Remick, in the nearby waters. It's a kind of perverse baptism, this scene. Remick repeatedly dunks Sammy in the waters, desperate to make him a vampire. But Sammy rejects him. He prays the Lord's Prayer, which is notable. In his hour of need, he does cry out to the God he was raised to believe in. And he actually lashes back at Remick with his guitar, this very precious guitar. But finally, it is a stake to the heart from Smoke that finally kills Remick, and the sunrise kills most of the other vampires. Smoke goes after the KKK, as we've mentioned, and in that battle he is fatally wounded. And he has a vision of his deceased wife Annie nursing their baby daughter. Now, what does that vision mean? Does it confirm Annie's hoodoo belief system and her vision of the afterlife? Is it a hallucination? It's kind of ambiguous. As for Sammy, he returns to his father's church. Again, it's like the prodigal son returning home to the father. And before we consider Sammy's ultimate decision, it's worth pressing into at this point, is his father a good father? Has Sammy's father done anything wrong? I mean, you could argue that he's a bit too strict in warning Sammy never to play blues music. That feels legalistic. It goes beyond the commands of the Bible. But in the context of the film, his fears seem to have been vindicated. Sammy's music did indeed summon dark forces from beyond, and lots of people lost their lives. Sammy even committed adultery at this party, so Sammy's dad was right to be concerned about him heading off with the Smokestack twins. And yet, Sammy's dad still wants to receive Sammy home with open arms. There is forgiveness. He just asks Sammy to drop what's left of the guitar and leave the blues music behind. He doesn't have to leave music behind entirely. In fact, there's a wonderful gospel choir in the church singing "This Little Light of Mine" as Sammy arrives. But Sammy says no. He heads out into the far country once again and becomes a successful blues musician. So ultimately, the film seems to regard the blues music as its most transcendent spirituality. It's what comes out on top. You see that in the mid-credits scene. The vampires, Stack and Mary, appear to the old Sammy in a bar. They ask if he would like to be made into a vampire, but he refuses. He says he's seen enough, and he doesn't want to be made immortal on Earth as it is. It's understandable. So he's walked away from the Christianity of his youth, and he's rejected the false salvation of the vampires. But what actually is his hope as a man who has devoted his life to the blues? Ultimately, as the three characters reminisce, all they can do is say that the day they all gathered in that sawmill was the best day of their lives. Before it became a bloodbath, it was a fleeting, transcendent, communal moment. Now, the film is quite nuanced. It doesn't wholeheartedly affirm Sammy's decision to walk away from his dad. The ending has a sense of wistfulness tinged with regret. Having said that, throughout the film, the blues music is very clearly associated with freedom. It's associated with freedom from racism and slavery, and we can all get on board with that. But for Sammy, it also comes to be associated with freedom from his parents. He leaves his family and the church to pursue what he sees as a higher calling, the blues. And so I can't help but view the ending as a tragedy. But does the film see it as a tragedy, or are we meant to be cheering Sammy on? Yay, he's escaped the shackles of his family who told him not to sleep with married women and summon vampires. How dare they restrict him in that way? But now he can do all those things. The freedom that Sammy ultimately obtains, is it a truly flourishing, life-giving freedom? Even within the context of the film, I don't know. So it's a very postmodern horror film. Sammy's journey involves rejecting his upbringing, rejecting the allegedly simplistic and restrictive Christian perspective on good and evil, and turning to something more adult and thrilling, supposedly. And all the characters in the film, apart from Sammy's dad, are morally ambiguous. Even the vampires. At first they're seen as devils, but they see themselves as a coming together of God, the earth, and the beast. And that's not entirely refuted by the film. In that mid-credits scene, the vampires seem kind of fun to hang out with. So the film includes a lot of different spiritualities, and there's no clear good and evil. It's all quite morally grey. The film sees all these spiritualities as being true to some extent, apart from the KKK, of course. Yeah, that's the only one it outright denounces as being utterly, irredeemably evil. And that's understandable. But I guess in order for it to call the KKK evil, it must be appealing to some ultimate good. And in the film, it's not obvious where the ultimate source of goodness lies. Does it reside within the Native American worldview, or the Hoodoo worldview, or the Christian worldview, or the blues worldview? As I've said, in the film, the blues seems to come out on top. But I think Sammy's Christian dad might deserve more of a hearing. So there we go. Sinners. I'm not quite sure what it's trying to say with its ending, and it's more than possible that I'm misunderstanding it. But I really enjoyed this film. Incredibly well made. Stellar performances across the board. Haley Steinfeld, who I really enjoyed in the Hawkeye series, she makes a very scary vampire. And the music is utterly captivating, with Ludwig Göransson once again knocking it out of the park. Hi, Thomas Thorogood here. You might enjoy a short film.
The movie does seem very interesting, and all the symbolism that's within it. Like, even when it came to the vampires, I'm correlating the vampires to fallen angels or even demons in the flesh. You know, trying to make people quote unquote immortal, but at the end of the day, they're no longer going to be experience the fulfillment of living in their soul or their spirit, because they're constantly always going to be in the flesh here on earth. So earth can literally turn to hell, and you're going to have to be here because you decided that you wanted to be a vampire. Now, when it comes to the ending of him leaving the church, leaving his father, leaving his family to go play for the Blues, I don't know if that was, I don't know the reason why they made it end like that. Maybe just so they can keep people confused or on the edge of their seat. I don't know why, but man, like, he must have been very, very passionate about the Blues for him to leave his family, his belief system, and everything like that. But comment down below what you guys think about this movie right here. It seems like it's very interesting. You know, looking at it just from like an unbiased standpoint. Well, I mean, I'm looking at it from a biased standpoint either way, because I believe in God, I believe in Jesus, and I understand where the ultimate good comes from. That standard of good to call something else evil, and that comes from God. So comment down below any thoughts or opinions that you have on this movie right here, or anything that we watched in this video, because I do enjoy reading your comments. Smash the like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications. I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one.